Welcome back to the lunch table, food for thought. I'm Nico Blitz, and I just want to say I think we officially trumped over the 1,000 subscriber mark. So I just gotta clap it up and whatnot. But still, subscribe. We need them. We need more subscribers and shit. You feel me? And leave some comments and likes and all of that shit. But anyways, today, this was kind of like an interview in the making for a long ass time. My homegirl Ange, she was like, "Yo, like, let me introduce you to this dude musically," and I'm like, straight fucking boom bap, real hip hop. Like, you need to listen to this guy. He is really on the fucking come up right now. He goes by the name of Haseeb. Haseeb, what's poppin', man?
What up? Yo, it's an honor to be here, man. It's like you said, a long time coming. So, it's definitely good to be here.
No, for sure. Like, so his Instagram handle is actually HASEEBthefew, but we were doing a running joke right before you got here, and I was calling you Haseeb the Late.
Facts. All right, so I am three.
What had happened today was...
See, they had called me, right? And then, everything started... so I'm effectively 3.5 hours late today, which is probably the latest I've ever been. But... all good. I am here. I made it. I was on some real rap shit today.
Rap shit. It's only the hip hop shows where the fucking rappers are late and shit.
Right.
It's funny.
So, yeah, man. I mean, usually I'm pretty punctual, but just today was just one of them days, and I thank y'all for your patience. And I had to make it out, man. No excuses. I had to make it out. So, I'm here. We're live in the flesh.
Hey, man, we've been waiting months. We can wait a couple more hours. Just to give all of you some insight about this guy, man, he's opened up for fucking legends, Dilated Peoples, Lupe Fiasco fucking twice.
2 times, yeah.
Yasin Bey twice.
Yep.
Method Man, Redman, J Electronica.
Yep.
The Far Side, bro. This guy's like strict fucking hip hop, man. Like, I don't know how the fuck you got into all that shit.
Oh, man.
Like,
how I got into that kind of hip hop, I think, goes back to probably like '99 or something like that.
Yeah.
When I heard "You Got Me" by the Roots and Erykah Badu.
Love that song. Yeah.
So like when I was a kid and I heard that, there was just something about it that was different, and I couldn't describe what about it was different than all the other stuff I was hearing. I was so young, so I didn't really understand the different, like the nuances between the styles of rap and the styles of hip hop. I just knew that I was drawn to that for some reason. And then it wasn't like until years later when I was probably in middle school. My older brother, one of his homies, gave me this CD that had just like a bunch of like classic boom bap shit on it. And when I got that CD, it reminded me of "You Got Me" by the Roots. And then at that was like the point in time when the internet was kind of starting to pop off a little bit. So I was able to do my research and whatnot. And yeah, man, I just kind of fell into that subgenre of the genre.
Yeah.
So
I mean, shit. That's a beautiful way to get into hip-hop, man, because I remember I got into it because of Mike Shinoda, out of all people.
Oh, word, yeah.
All the Linkin Park beats and shit, and he was the only rapper.
Right.
And, I think in your situation, too, you weren't totally introduced to just, like, the nitty-gritty boom bap. You still had, like, a couple melodies here and there and shit. So, it's kind of like, I think that time in hip-hop was kind of like when the culture began to shift from just, like, straight gangster-ass music.
Right. So for me, like, the journey was like a journey backwards, because I was born in 1990. So like that golden era between like 90 through 96. I mean, I'm sure some of the cats from the 80s would be like, nah, the golden era was in the 80s. But for me, like the early 90s, mid 90s was probably like my favorite era, or one of my favorite eras of hip hop. But like I was so young during that time, I couldn't really absorb it like in real time. So for me, a lot of it was like backtracking and kind of like doing my research and like the LimeWire, Kazaa, Napster, BearShare, all that illegal download.
The real shit. The shit we had to go through when we were younger. We didn't have streaming back then, dude.
Nah, no streaming. So you had to download people's albums, which was already like kind of crazy because the era before us was like you had to go to the record store and buy CDs.
Yeah, or just buy the shit out the trunk.
Right, exactly. My older brother, he used to make tapes, just like in the boombox, and like he'd be listening to the radio 99.1 out here in the IE.
Yeah.
And at 9 o'clock, it would be like the Fat Five at 9.
Okay.
So it'd be like 5 like new records or whatever, right? So he would like have the tape player in the boombox, and hit play and record. Like
Damn,
right at
that's
the
some
right
old school
time.
shit. How old your brother's a little bit older, I assume. Then.
Yeah, he's like what 33 right now or something
Okay,
like that.
okay.
So yeah, he's probably like four or 5 years older than
Yeah.
myself. Yeah.
Damn, so he was the guy. He was just making money off of that shit. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, and then when the CD era came, he was the dude burning CDs, like and selling CDs for a couple bucks in high school and stuff like that. So, just like being a fan of music and like consuming music, I think. I'm grateful that for me, like my journey started just being like a fan.
Yeah.
And then from there, developing my own
Well,
shit.
it's very authentic that way. You know what I mean? Because so wait, who'd you like dig, like after finding like that Erykah Badu?
Oh, okay. All right. So let me think. One of my first albums that I bought was DMX's "It's Dark and Hell Is Hot."
Oh shit. Okay.
And that was I was in elementary school, man. So that was kind of insane for a kid in like second or third grade to be banging that,
Well, I mean DMX of all people too. It's like I don't really hear too many people who just like willingly buy a DMX CD as like their first hip hop CD.
Oh man, that was fire, bro. That's such a good album. To this day, "It's Dark and Hell Is Hot" is an incredible album. And DMX was he was like a dude that his stuff was always real. And he wasn't like lyrically the most complex, or it wasn't like Boom Bap, or it wasn't Tribe Called Quest.
But you fucking felt
his
him.
emotion. Yeah. So DMX was, and bro, like commercial success wise, he's sold millions upon millions of albums. So for me, that was like the first album I bought. And then, just kind of moving forward after that, I got into the Raucous era, where Eminem came out of that era, Mos Def, Talib Kweli, the whole, the Black Star album, Common, obviously the Roots and,
So then who's now I'm curious, who's your favorite rapper then?
That's hard. That's a hard one. I don't know,
Maybe from that era if I had to
I would say growing up, my favorite rappers were probably Black Thought, Mos Def, Nas, Lupe, and my G One Below from Binary Star. Those were definitely my top tier kind of.
That's what's up. And it's crazy that you worked with them too on fucking tour and shit.
Oh yeah.
Eventually.
It was a dream of mine to work with certain artists or at least rock shows with them and stuff like that. So I'm definitely blessed that I've been able to do so.
Mm-hmm.
But it also is kind of eye opening, where it's oh, okay. All right, damn, I did that. Now what? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's kind of you thought that was your ceiling, but then now you recognize that you have more shit to look forward to.
Right. It was a cool accomplishment, and it was it was an honor to play shows with a lot of the legends. You know what I mean? Especially people who I grew up listening to. Whether it's the Mos Defs or the Far Side.
Yeah.
And some of the legends they've all shown love in some sort of capacity, but some kind of take you under their wing a little more than others. Some will take the time to have conversations or exchange contact information with you or hang out or do whatever. You know what I mean? Everyone's different, but they're from an era where they kind of already established what they were doing and did their thing, and now they're legacy artists. You know what I mean? And what they're doing is what they're doing now is based on the legacy they created earlier in their career, right? And so me being in a different spot in my career, I could never be their peer. You know what I mean? As much work as you might do with the legends or as much respect that you might earn from them, I have to craft and build my own shit essentially,
Oh yeah, for sure. It's it's different when you're you should never go toe to toe with the legends, man, because they've been through all the shit, all the experiences. But have you had that conversation with Yasin Bey or Mos Def?
The couple conversations I had with Yasin Bey were very brief and light, to be honest. More or less at the Belasco, he was just oh yeah, keep doing your thing, bro.
Hella quick, yeah.
And it was just we probably spoke for 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And when you're backstage, it's the conversations are a certain way or whatever. So, someone might ask him today, oh yeah, you know Haseeb? He might be like, who? I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't even know. You know what I mean? Because that was one of the dudes who, even though we had a brief conversation, he was yeah, dope, man, keep doing your thing. It didn't really go past that. You know what I mean? Whereas someone like Brown from the Far Side, that, that's, if you holler at him, it's a completely different story. I've been on Far Side TV with him and whatnot, and just seen him the other day at the Novo, did the Far Side Fest. Like, that's a different relationship, you know what I mean? Or me and someone like One Below from Binary Star, like, I've been on 5 tours with him. So
that's crazy.
So that's like my brother, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's different relationships with different people, man. Same thing with Lupe. Like I opened for Lupe twice. I met Lupe. We shared a brief conversation. It was all love. But beyond that, like, I can't say it went like beyond that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, I think relationships, I think everybody's just in this mindset in which you're trying to hustle. And it's like you meet somebody and it's like, oh, I got to work with you now.
Right.
Not knowing that, okay, but this relationship could potentially be a long-lasting relationship, and you just got to be patient. And, if something comes out of it, it does. And if it doesn't,
right.
It doesn't. You just got to move forward with
right.
your shit.
I think a lot of times, for rappers at least, they see these kind of moments as like their shot. This is my shot, or like this is my opportunity. And there's like this kind of like this stigma that you only get one shot, which I personally don't think is true. You know what I mean? Like, you wake up every morning. You wake up is another shot. Whatever that means.
That's true.
It's just like, okay. But I like never rely on another person or another entity or a specific platform. You know what I mean? Like, somebody was like, yo, man, you rely too much on Spotify, dog. Like, what happens if Spotify disappears from the face of the planet tomorrow?
Yep.
Are you done? Are you going to stop? What if Instagram disappears tomorrow? Like, does that mean your career is over? And I'm like,
I hear you.
I'm like, bars,
no,
okay.
Yeah.
Right.
That's some real shit. Because I even seen somebody tweet today, like, it's sad when artists try to get their social media game up.
Right.
Or it's just like, it's really just a platform in which, like, you're supposed to communicate with each other, but in no way does the quality of music link with somebody's social media.
No.
Because if that was the case, then we'd have people like the Tekashis or the Lil Tays be the greatest artists in the fucking world.
Right. Well, I think it's a balancing act. I think the music is separate from the platform, right? So, like, I don't make music for any specific platform. Like, yo, this is for the gram, or this is for Spotify, or this is. I just make my music the same way I've kind of been making music, and obviously that it's adapted and kind of grown. But, to me, the digital platforms, the social medias of the world, the Instagrams, these kind of things are like, this is a place to share my music and to build my audience. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm one of those people who's like, yo, I need to get my social media up. And I think like that because I know that if I do it the right way, it's going to be directly related to how many people are at the show versus how many people are streaming the music.
I get you.
So long as you're like, you got to keep the perspective where it's like, yo, I need to get my Instagram popping, but I also need to make dope records, and I also need to grow my audience on Spotify and build my YouTube subscribers. And you. So it's like there is no one answer to all of it, but it's all a part of it. And in 2018, almost 2019, like you can't neglect the digital platforms that essentially people are eating off of.
Yeah, I feel you, because the last thing that you want, essentially what you want to do is make sure all of your platforms like correlate with one another, because the last thing you want is to have 1 million followers, right? And then you have nobody show up at your show.
Boom, that's it right there. That's what it is. And I know cats like that, bro.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say any names, but I know cats who they bought the 1 million followers. They somehow got the blue check mark.
Oh, God.
They turn the comments off so no one can see the ratios all messed up.
That's horrible, bro.
And, but, it's like some people, to them, it's the idea of being famous.
Yeah.
It's the idea of being on, where it's like, yo, every day I'm going to spend all my time, energy, effort on convincing people that I'm popping, rather than just like making dope shit and building like a real following.
Did you ever feel like you needed to be put on at one point?
I would say like really early on, I was like, I didn't really understand the nuances of the industry to the extent that I do now. And even now I still got a lot to learn. But I think super early on, there was like, oh man, like I just need to get such and such's attention, and and it'll be on or whatever. Now
Like
it's more
who?
like I don't know. I can't really recall. Like, if I were to say who, you'd be like, who? But but that's how bad it was. Where it was like, you know, there might have been like a couple like local artists who might have had something going on or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm trying. This is like high school era, you know, where I'm still in my teenage years, just starting to like get in the studio kind of thing. Like,
Yeah, you're just thinking like a super hungry ass artist.
Right,
would.
right. I'm, you know, I not a clue about how anything works or whatever, you know, but you know, I don't really believe in the whole being put on thing. I think you got to put yourself on every day. And you know, you have to participate in the community of like music and musicians, and you can choose what community you want to participate in. Like I seen a lot of cats get caught up in like the local scene, right? Where, you know, whether it's the IE or in LA, you know, there's a local scene, and there's different pockets of the local scene.
Okay.
And people will like participate in it, and you start rocking some shows, which is good because you can build like a name locally. You could like also build alliances with different like producers and rappers and stuff like that. Like, it's really important. But I see a lot of people never graduate from that scene because they chose to participate in the scene, but they never saw past it.
Yeah.
They're just trying to be the champion of that scene.
I hear you.
Right? So, you know, I think it's less about being put on and more so just like participating in the community in which you want to participate in, and like, you know, navigating and placing yourself around people who you want to be, you know, associated with. You know what I mean? But I will say this, being put on, if it's well earned, then, you know, there's always, it's beneficial. Like, for example, Spotify, I got put on to two major playlists on Spotify.
Which ones? Plug them.
Fresh Finds and Mellow Bars. This was last year.
I listen to Mellow Bars a lot, yeah.
Right. So I was on Mellow Bars January of 2018 up until like maybe like May or something like that. So I had like a cool 5, maybe 6 month run on Mellow Bars. And, you know, a lot of my audience today is because of that playlist. You know what I mean? So,
but were you bugging to get your song on Spotify on that playlist?
Nah.
See, and I think that's the difference though, because like I don't think necessarily like you were like begging to get put on. Like you just so happened to get put on, but that was only like through your hard work. Right.
There's a right way to go about it, and you know, the right way to go about it is, well, there's more than one way to go about it, obviously. You know, everyone's got their own method. But personally for me, I don't want to bother anybody or, you know, press anybody like, yo, you got to check this. Like, this is the illest shit you ever heard. Like, nah. I just want to, you know, do my shit, and if people believe in my message, they'll...
Yeah, you know what? Because that is legitimately the best way to build an organic, like, following, or people who, like, really fuck with your music. I feel like the more you press your shit upon people and whatnot...
We're very professional today, by the way. Keeping my ring on.
Hey, at one point, somebody dropped their phone. I'm just like...
Oh, man.
It's all good, though.
Yikes.
But, shit, what was I saying? Kind of like... Where was I?
I came very prepared. My whole mission was to mess up the entire podcast today.
Nah, you good, bro. You good.
No, we were talking about being put on and, like, you know, that not being, like, the main intention, like, and just not pressing people to be put on, you know?
Not pressing people because, yeah, building your following much more organically that way, because if somebody just so happens to find you and they're like, oh, this is the type of sound that I dig, then cool, because 9 times out of 10, you send music to somebody, they're just not going to listen to it because to somebody else, you just look like another thirsty person who's just trying to get a play.
Exactly. No, for sure. I mean, you know, I try to think about it where, like, there was a time where I would be DMing random people my shit, right? Mm-hmm. And this was, like, years ago. Or, I would just be, like, hitting up random people, like, sharing my music with them, hoping that they would check it out. And then, you know, I kind of, like, I started thinking, I'm like, all right, see, who are you, like, a fan of? And I started thinking about the artists, like, the current artists who I'm, like, a fan of. And I'm like, bro, I never became a fan of an artist's music because they hit me up and were like, yo, check my shit out. I don't like Earl Sweatshirt because he hit me up and was like, "Yo, what's good, bro? My name is Earl Sweatshirt. I just put out a little EP. Here's my thing. Check it out." Like that never happened. That never happened. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, if you don't want to be seen as that kind of artist, just don't do that. Find a different way to get people to hear your music the right way. Now it's different if it's like I drop some new shit and I'm like, "Yo, Angie, what up?" Like I just dropped some new shit. Like check it out because
you've built the relationship at that point.
Exactly. That's totally different. So I kind of like shifted my mindset where it's like, all right, I'm no longer gonna be the kind of artist that moves that kind of way. Like
I feel you.
I'm not gonna sell CDs at Venice Beach or send people unsolicited DMs with links to my music. Like
that ain't cool.
It's
man.
not cool. It's not the right way to move.
Yeah. So then, what have you learned about your fan base? Like, what does a typical Haseeb fan look like?
Oh man, I think it depends on what city you're in. Like in New York, it was all like brown people,
Okay.
like all like Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi people, like people from a similar ethnic background as myself. In Toronto, it was all brown people as well. Besides this dude named Jermaine, shout out to Jermaine.
Not Cole, but Jermaine somewhere.
Yeah. Jermaine from Toronto, shout out. It was like it was all like brown people. He was the one black dude in the crowd. I was like,
that's funny.
Shout out my guy. You know what I'm saying? But in LA, it's like, LA is different. In LA, it's I don't know. If we're talking ethnically, like there's more Hispanic hip hop fans in LA than there are in other cities. You know what I mean? And I think like age-wise, I would say like anywhere from 18 to 30, maybe even a little younger every now and again. But
damn, 18 to 30 and even younger. That's the interesting thing because I don't think too many people are like really into boom bap right now.
Right. Well, here's my theory on that. I think they're not into boom bap because boom bap is not what's being fed to them. Like, for example, when Joey Badass and Pro Era came out, people weren't into boom bap at that time.
Yeah, for sure.
But people were loving that shit. And why? Is because I don't think listeners are like, you know what? I don't fuck with boom bap because they don't even know what boom bap is.
Yeah,
that's true. If they don't have prior, like let's say you're like a 15-year-old kid who did not come up on 90s hip hop, right? And your first experience listening to boom bap is coming across my stuff. You don't know, you've never even heard that before. So you may be blown away. You may be like, whoa.
This guy's original as fuck.
Yeah, like what is this? You know what I mean? So, because that was my experience, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, I was like listening to Get Rich or Die Trying, right?
Okay.
In middle school, and like, I was like, yo, this is dope. This is hard. And around like the same time is when the homie gave me that CD that had like The Far Side, Royce the 5'9", the Hieroglyphics, Souls of Mischief, Gangstar. It had all like that classic boom bap shit on it, and it blew me away. I was like, whoa, self-scientific. Who the hell is self-scientific?
Yeah.
Like, this is fire, right? So the way I look at it is like, people, there's that thing that people say, oh, boom bap is dead, or, real hip hop doesn't exist anymore, or whatever. And it's like, bro, the people are going to consume good music, like, so long as it's good music. I don't think they make like preconceived things. Now, obviously, just to keep it a buck, like, if you're a fan of Chance the Rapper or Joey Badass or Kendrick or J. Cole, there's a higher chance you'd like my music rather than if you were a fan of like Lil Pump or Uzi Vert or somebody. And, no disrespect to anybody, but my style of music is a certain style of music. So from like a marketing perspective, if you're into certain artists, it may be more likely that you may gravitate toward my music
for sure, rather
than if you're a fan of other kind of...
the SoundCloud rappers.
Right, but if you're a kid still growing up, you don't even know what you're listening to yet.
Yeah, you know what, that's true, because you can easily relate that to how you were listening to Get Rich or Die Trying, and then you get introduced to...
blows you away.
Yeah.
Because you're like, yo, I've never heard this. Like, I've never heard this kind of thing before. What is this? And you like, one of the homies, he had a phrase. He said, converter groups, right? Where like growing up, like there's certain hip hop artists that you come across that convert your way of like thinking or like your way of listening, where
Yeah.
all you know is like, yo, Ja Rule. You know what I mean? This is what I know. Ja Rule, 50 Cent, DMX, Tupac, Eminem, Lil Wayne, because these are like the big rappers of a certain era or whatever. You know what I mean? And this is what you know. And then a group like Little Brother comes along from North Carolina with Ninth Wonder making all the beats and Fonte and Pooh, and you're just like, yo, what the fuck is this? This is so dope. And it blows you away because there was no corporate marketing that went behind it. They weren't on radio, they weren't on the TV, but when you came across that music, it did something to your soul, and it did something to where you're just like, yo, I love this. I don't know what it is, but I can't even listen to Ja Rule anymore because now I know. And no disrespect to Ja Rule, I'm just saying, like it's
the converter group.
Right.
Like you end up like once you learn that something is there and you really like, you're like, oh fuck, well I got to go all in on this shit now.
Right. It's like, yo, if you're eating sushi from the grocery store, right, and then one of your friends is like, yo, dog.
Catch a real fish, bro.
Let's actually go get some sushi for real.
Yeah.
And then you go get that some different kind of sushi that's not the grocery or 7-Eleven sushi or whatever. You go get some real sushi.
I would never get no sushi from 7-Eleven.
I'm just saying, I wouldn't either. But also, we're from California. We know better. But if you're not from California or one of the coastal cities, you may not know. You may be eating sushi from Albertsons or Kroger's or whatever. But when someone takes you to go get that like real sushi, you're like, yo, what have I been listening to this whole time?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially if you're like a thinker. If you're someone that like, considers yourself, I don't want to use the word woke because, I don't know. But if you're someone that is consciously thinking about like your surroundings or the environment, like, you'll gravitate towards like certain styles of music.
Yeah, whatever you like. But then there's that other half of people who just become totally content with what they have, you know what I mean? And I think that goes back to the conversation where the like IE artists are only popping in IE because that's all they really want. Like I'm from the Bay Area, and Bay Area artists only get like this much caliber of fame unless you're like a G-Eazy or Kehlani who's like, yo, like if we just branch out just one more step further, then like the fucking world is yours at that point.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about what you want. If you want to be known in Europe, like you got to like go to Europe or actively like engage with people in Europe or New York or wherever. You know what I mean? You got to like get up and go to wherever you're trying to go. And I think for me, I'm at a place where I'm not trying to convince people who like a certain style of music that's way far off from mine to stop listening to what they're. I'm not trying to, stop listening to that whack shit. Come over here and listen to me.
You're not trying to
do that.
Group.
No, but here's the thing: is like if that happens naturally, then dope. But also, I think we live in a different era now where like you could be a fan of, Chief Keef and also a fan of like. J. Cole or the most, more conscious artists or whatever. Like, I think people's palettes are a little wider now than ever. And I think it's because the access to music and the way, like, platforms like Spotify work to where it's not like, if you dig a certain kind of sound, that's all this is your bubble. Like, I think people are very fluid in that realm, probably more so than even myself as a listener, to be honest.
Well, also, as a listener myself, I like to binge when it comes to different types of music. Like, for example, on my way after work when I was coming here, I was listening to nothing but street music. I was listening to, like, fucking Stupid Young, Devour, and I was like, okay, let me just type up more street music. Right. And then once I'm done with that binge, it's like, okay, I got all the fucking slaps out. Let me, like, get to some R&B because that's, like, a new vibe that I just want to, like, fill myself with.
Right. For sure. I've been, for the past, like, 2 weeks, maybe, like, the past week, I've been listening to, like, 70s and 80s Jamaican dancehall.
I saw that you tweeted that shit. Yeah,
and I, like even like on my way here, like I'm still on that playlist. Like I'm still banging that and just kind of like absorbing that. So
what does that do to you when you listen to like different eras of or like even different genres of music?
I think it takes me out of my pocket. Where I might be listening to just different rhythms or the way like different people inflect their voices, like how Barrington Levy, inflects his voice is like mad unique. Like you're not gonna hear that from anyone else but Barrington Levy. You know what I'm saying? Like that's his shit. So like listening to an artist like that, you'll get something that like you've never even heard before. You'll be like, yo, this is crazy, you know? But, you know, I feel like there's different cultures have different styles of music and whatnot, and there's things you could pick and choose and like things you can kind of absorb from it. So for me, like when I hear like dancehall and like reggae, it's like hip hop before hip hop, but in a way where it's like this is just like rhythms. It's bass. The bass lines are mad funky. Boom, do 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 do.
It really just gets people dancing and shit.
Yeah, it just kind of like gets you moving, but also like the lyrics are very conscious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then sometimes they could be like, you know, the lyrics would be grimy or whatever. They're storytelling. They're talking about Kingston or they're talking about, you know, Jamaican girls or whatever. You know what I mean? So like, just trying to even like catch the lyrics, I don't speak patois, so it's tough. But like I'm like, you know, I'm listening and I'm like trying to absorb and learn from it and whatnot. And it's just like it's good vibes. You know, I feel good when I listen to something like dancehall.
So then, what's your ethnic background?
All right, so that's kind of it gets a little complicated, but more or less I'm South Asian or Southeast Asian, whatever you want to call it. My parents are from this country called Burma.
Okay.
Which is now called Myanmar because they nationalized years back. But because of the conflicts in Burma, they actually had to relocate. And so my mom grew up in India, and my father grew up in Karachi, Pakistan. So.
Oh, but that means you're Burmese then.
Technically, no, because the Burmese government never gave them Burmese citizenship or nationalization or whatever you want to call it. Like, you know how, like, I'm American, I'm born here, right?
Yeah,
so, like,
sure.
I was born here, so I'm like, boom, American passport. Like, I am
out the gates.
Yeah, like, I am American.
Okay.
I think, but I think 45 is trying to even change that rule to where, like, if you get born, if you're born in the States and your parents aren't citizens, you don't automatically get citizenship. So that's one of the things he's trying to push through. So we definitely got to do whatever we can as a people to stop that. But Burma didn't give my parents, like, they're not Burmese technically, because ethnically, like, we're not Burmese, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
ethnically, like, we're from the Indian subcontinent. So if you go back, like, ethnically, we're Indian, but they were born in Burma. But my father is actually politically Pakistani because of his, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So just think like we're brown people, but geopolitics made it very complicated. So growing up out here, I didn't know what the
you don't know what the fuck
I didn't know what the fuck. I was like,
Yeah.
I just know I'm brown. You know what I mean? I'm a brown Asian apparently, who often gets called Middle Eastern because Pakistan gets lumped into the Middle East because we're Muslim.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, identity-wise, it was like, bro, I'm hip-hop. I don't know what y'all are talking about.
Shit, when you rap, it doesn't matter what the fuck you are.
But as I've gotten older, though, like, I've actually, like, learned to embrace parts of my culture, which I was, like, afraid to before because I didn't know how hip-hop would perceive, you know, someone from that part of the world.
So then what parts of your culture have you embraced that you've implemented into hip-hop?
I mean, definitely, I think, like, my faith is one of the biggest ones, and faith and food, probably. Faith, family, and food. Those are like
it's
the
a
main
food
things.
on your Instagram bio, right?
Yeah.
The last thing?
Nahari, yeah, beats, rhymes, and Nahari. For sure.
What is that? It's like it's a dish?
It's a beef stew. It's like a super spicy beef stew. That's like pretty much they cook like certain like pieces of the bone of like a cow or like a lamb, depending on what kind of meat you go with. And when you cook the stew, like the meat falls off the bone.
Oh, that shit sounds so good.
And it's just like a rich, thick gravy of spicy goodness, and you eat it with you eat it with naan, and it's like I would call it like Pakistani soul food.
Okay,
that's how like it's definitely like you shouldn't eat it every night. It's definitely not like good for you. It's nothing but like red meat and bread and spices. You know what I mean? Nutritional value is not very high.
It's probably good for keto though.
Nah, because you eat it with the bread.
Oh,
carbs.
Yeah, fuck. I can't. So the only reason why I mentioned that because I'm on keto diet right now, so I'm trying to figure out different other foods I can eat. Shit.
Right. Nah, definitely not keto. I mean, you could eat it without naan, but it's not the same without naan.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So, I would say faith, family, and food are you know, like that's what I pull most from my culture and my parents' culture. And I think that's like a cool way of like talking about, especially the food part. The food part is cool to me because I could talk about my culture and like, you know, resonate with my fan base who is from a similar background without me being like, I'm an Indian rapper or a Pakistani rapper
yeah.
or this rapper or that rapper or whatever. Like, I don't want to make those kind of statements. I'm just like a human being who like makes music, and I come from a certain ethnic background. But like, I don't care to be like the guy or the champion of like that certain group of people. You know, if they elect me president or whatever, like in the hip hop world from our culture, then cool. But
Yeah.
I'm not like that's not the campaign I'm running on. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather just talk about like food.
But do you feel like you ever have to like represent like for those cultures that you are?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there's a responsibility to speak on it. You know what I mean, and to be the voice. You know what I mean, or be a voice, if not the voice, be a voice. But you know, I won't do so at the cost of not being true to myself. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm not gonna do something that's not authentic to me just to appease
To your culture.
Right.
I get you.
Right.
That's like me fucking speaking Tagalog and I don't really know too much. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that shit makes really.
Right. I just be like, salamat po. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
You know what I'm saying?
That's hella funny. It's very interesting because you know Faye, right, out in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my boy, and I remember
Right.
when I was speaking to him, he was like, bro, like he wants to be that guy championing
Right.
for like, you know, his culture and whatnot.
Right.
And it's interesting because I don't see too many like that. I think
Right.
even like in Indian culture, there's only what's his name, Anik Khan.
Yeah, Anik. Yeah.
Yeah, Anik
Just the
Khan.
homie as well. Yeah, good dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, I guess it's interesting how you're not one who's really looking to champion it, but it kind of goes back goes back to the fact how if people find your music, they find your music, and you're kind of saying like if people champion you, then they champion you.
Right. If people champion me, then dope. Right, but I don't want to hop out the gate and be like, I am here to be your champion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you know, I'm here for like I want to say that in like a different kind of way where it's like, you know, like for example, when I touch down in London, I hop on my IG story. I'm like, yo, what's good with the Nahari or whatever, right? I got mad people hitting me up like, yo, go to this spot, go to that spot. Come over to the crib, like my mom will cook. I'm like,
What the fuck? That's crazy.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah,
but like,
that's ill.
like it's love though, you know. So it's like I'd rather do it like that in a way where it's like the people who already know what that is, they already like see it and respect it, and like, you know, it create that connection. But there's nothing wrong with you know being like the champion of your culture, like in the world of hip hop. Even like, you know, cats like Omar Effendum or Narcy. Like Omar Effendum is Syrian, and he's like, you know, probably the most popular Syrian rapper of all time, maybe.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Or Narcy, the narcissist, is from Iraq. You know what I'm saying? And he's probably the most, you know, substantial artist, hip hop artist from Iraq of all time. You know what I mean? And you know, like there's nothing wrong with it. Or like Faye, Faye's the homie. I chop it up with Faye like pretty often on IG. You know what I mean? If his thing is like being a champ, like bro, he should be the champion. You know what I'm saying? Like Anik Khan, he should be the champion of Bangladeshi like artists. You know what I mean? My thing is like, yo, one, because my ethnic background is a little blurred for myself. Even it's like I don't even know what to rep sometimes.
Yeah,
So I just like
crazy.
I just rep myself. You know what I mean? And I rep like the culture that I grew up with, but also like I grew up in hip hop culture in a certain way where it's like I want people to love me for like my talent.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
I want people to love the music. And, you know, if people can relate to me through my culture, and if that's something that, you know, that they like, people hit me up all the time, yo, bro, you like the best brown rapper out here. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But like, asterisk, brown rapper.
Why can't I just be the rapper?
Or just like, just, you know, dope artist. But
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
I don't look at it like a bad thing that people hit me up and say that. Like, I think that's cool. But, you know, I don't just make music for brown people, though.
Oh, no, yeah,
You
for
know
sure.
what I'm saying?
Oh, go ahead.
They might, you know, now the brown people or Muslim people, they might understand my lyrics at a deeper level than other ethnic backgrounds just because they'll relate to the subject matter a little closer. It's kind of like, you know, a comedian like Hassan Minhaj, right? Like, when you watch his stand-up or his show on Netflix, there's going to be things that if you're not Indian or Pakistani, you won't understand because he's talking to that crowd. You know what I'm saying? So one of my boys, white dude, good dude, he was like, "Yo, man, I seen a stand up. Like, I didn't really feel it." I was like, "Yeah, bro, it's because it's not for you.
You didn't understand the shit." Yeah. No, I get you. It's the relatability aspect.
Right.
It's kind of like if I see a Joe Coy.
Word.
Or like, seeing a movie like Crazy Rich Asians, like,
okay.
yeah, I mean, I'm not rich, but it's just like, oh, yeah, that's funny because I know people who are like that in the fucking Asian community. It's just the relatability aspect of it.
Exactly. So I definitely want to like touch people in that kind of a way and like make connections. Excuse me. But I won't do so at the expense of like me being authentic to myself. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah. For sure. Don't ever be somebody that you're not. That's like the main point at the end of the day.
Right. And I seen something the other day. I can't remember who said it, but they said using culture for clout. I don't want to use culture for clout neither. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to hop in like traditional Pakistani clothing and spit a verse on camera because like that's not even like real to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If it is real to you, then yo, do your thing, bro. Rock whatever you want to rock. But like, if I were to do that, I would be using my culture for clout.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You.
So it's like that to me, for me, is not authentic. For someone else, it may be authentic, but I don't really rock our cultural clothing like that. If I do, it's on a religious holiday. You know what I'm saying? And unless it's in a religious holiday or a wedding or something like that, you're not going to catch me rocking them clothes. So it's like...
that's some real ass shit, dude.
That's what it is. That's just what it is. Like, and it's not dissing the clothes or dissing people that rock the clothes or whatever. It's just, I wear it on a holiday. I wear it, in some of the wedding events, and that's when I wear it. And I've always been like that. So I'm not about to put it on and hop in front of the camera and start spitting a verse, rocking that just to like be a little more viral or whatever.
No, fuck all that shit. That's totally not coming from the guy who's like born in the IE.
Right.
All that shit. That shit wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah. So, it's I love my culture. I'm more in tune with my culture now than ever. But I could only rep it as much as like I'm comfortable with it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna like push it, go harder for it or whatever, like in hopes that I'll make more fans or whatever. Like I'm just gonna keep doing what's real to me.
Did your parents raise you like culturally, or were they kind of just like, oh,
they're pretty moderate? Yeah, it's pretty moderate. Like immigrant household, so it's definitely not like a Western household. You know what I mean? But also, my parents are very open-minded in many topics, and some topics they're still a little more. We're like, yo, no, we do things like the old way.
Like what? I'm not too sure about your culture.
Right. Okay, so like for example, me doing hip hop, right? Very cool with that, open-minded, and they never looked at it weird.
That's interesting.
They never looked at it weird. They're always like, oh, that's cool. Just make sure you get straight A's. You know what I'm saying? Or like, make sure you go to college or make sure you go to grad school or like different things like that. Where academically, we're a very immigrant household. Where like education in school was like a top priority, and it was very strict in that manner. But like in terms of like going out and having a social life, hanging out with friends and stuff like that, like they were very open to that. They weren't super, and religiously it's like we always had to participate. We always had to, do the mandatory things, but like it wasn't so strict where it's like, nah, bro, you can't go out on Friday night because I know you're going to the function where there's weed and girls. They knew what was up, but like, they just like let me do my thing with that, and we're like always cool with that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So long as I never brought it home or got into like terrible things that became really bad habits.
How do you think having like a more moderate household raising you like helped you out? Because my family, they started off like hella fucking strict. Like for example, right, my grandma apparently, my mom tells me this story all the time. She was gonna go to prom with a black guy, and my grandparents didn't want that shit. So they did was they just said, nope, you can't go out. But then my mom, she had to like sneak out, went to prom. She didn't even get to like post the photos anywhere or anything. Right. It was super strict. And then I guess with raising me and my sister, she was more like, okay, like we're gonna have a tight grip, and just like constantly loosen it up as the years go by. So
Right.
how'd that help you, knowing that your parents were just like moderately like putting culture on you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it was cool because, like, nothing was really forced, like, upon me. You know what I mean? It was like, yo, this is our expectations. This is our culture. This is our religion. Obviously, you know, we're Americans, so, like, we're not going to not be American. Like, this is our country, you know what I'm saying? So, be who you are, like, you know, be a productive member of society, blah, blah, blah. Just don't forget who you are. It's interesting how you know, speaking on interracial relationships, that's still like a point of struggle in my community. You know what I mean? I actually have a record on my album, Growth, available on Spotify, Apple Music, and everywhere.
Just hit 1 million streams, by the way.
Yes, indeed. we need to go for 2 million though, so make sure y'all check that out.
Hell yeah.
There's a song called "Play Love." And, you know, the song pretty much, like, touches on you know, my last relationship, which was an interracial relationship that, you know, it ended for a multitude of reasons. We had our own shit, but, you know, kind of overarching that or looming over that was the fact that, like, you know, my family wasn't necessarily super open to interracial marriages and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's not that no one ever does it. You know, people do, you know, they break these boundaries and, you know, they push forward and, you know, love prevails oftentimes, but sometimes it doesn't. And, you know, I'm not going to say that was the reason why my last relationship didn't work, but that was a factor that played into the entire mix of why it didn't work. You know what I'm saying? So that's something where they're like a little more traditional, like, nope, we're not like, and it's like, I guess it's a form of racism, to be frank, you know what I mean? But it's also like a form of like preserving culture, where it's like, yo, if you get into an interracial relationship and then your kid gets into an interracial relationship and then their kid gets into, our culture is gone.
It reminds me of in Hawaii, there's like this whole subsection there's this like whole subsection where they just have nothing but purebred Hawaiians just, you know, date with each other. And there's even schools where you can't attend unless you're a certain percentage of Hawaiian. And it's really just to preserve the culture, as you say.
Right. So, you know, there's a fine line between being, you know,
preservative for your culture and like hatred.
Right? So it's like, I grew up with most of my homies were black.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up rapping and playing basketball, and, you know, like, my boys were all black, and they crashed at the crib. They're at the crib chilling, like, eating with my family. Like, it was never a problem. It was never an issue. There was never any hatred or any malice like that. And even if I talk to them today, they'll never feel like there was, right? But then when it was like, yo, I'm trying to marry this girl who's
you were
black.
trying to marry her?
I mean, we were together for like 4 or 5 years, so like the conversation was leading to that. We wasn't engaged or nothing like that. Sure. But it's like, all right, are we doing this for real, or, you know?
I get you.
Or is this like, eh? So I was about it to a capacity, and, you know, obviously, like I said, we went through our own shit, and, you know, that it culminated in it ending. But like, when I presented, you know, this girl to my parents, they were like, she's sweet, she's great, but yeah, we're gonna lose our culture, and it's like, we didn't come here to you know, lose our culture.
So then, do you ever harbor any like hatred towards your parents?
No, not at all. Because I've known them my whole life, and I know what kind of people they are. And even though I don't agree with a lot of their stuff like that, because I'm like, man, who cares?
For real.
We're all just people where everybody's going to be like you
ever see that South Park episode where everybody's just like the same fucking color?
I heard about it, but I've never seen it.
It's that type of shit where people just keep on interracially mixing with each other, that we're all the same person anyway.
I think we're going to get there eventually, and it's like, you know, I think that I'm cool with that. I'm okay. I'm from the generation that's all right with that. But coming from where they come from, like, I don't know if they see that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't have hatred towards them. I wish they could, you know, I wish people from their generation were a bit more open-minded when it comes to stuff like that. But like I said, like the you know, my last thing didn't work out, not because of my parents. It wasn't their fault. We had our own shit. If you know, if we were perfectly in love and if we were going to make it work, we would have gone through with it anyway and just like push that boundary and, you know, force things to like happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I guess the whole point of even getting this deep into that part of the conversation is just like talking about how, you know, culture, it plays a big part in just life in general, you know what I mean? And just dealing with the multicultural America that we're in, you know. A lot of other places in the world, they're not melting pots like it is over here. It's like you go to China and it's all Chinese people.
Yeah, word.
You go to India and it's all Indian people.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? You go to, I don't know, you know, you go to certain places on the map and it's all just like one people.
So then, is it an excuse for racism to exist in the United States? Because now that you mentioned that, you could kind of argue that we just don't know how to coincide with each other yet.
With Dave Chappelle in one of his new stand-ups, he said, and that's why China will always be better than the U.S. because everybody in America is racist and everybody in China is Chinese. He said, everybody in America is racist and everybody in China is Chinese.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, I think there's beauty in multiculturalism. Just even like the room we're in right now, there's like people from all kind of backgrounds, all kind of different kind of people here in one room kicking it just because we love music.
Yeah.
You know, like that's dope. I don't know if you can get that in a lot of other places, you know, in the world. So I think that makes us special in a way, but it also presents us with a set of challenges. And these challenges have been going on since the beginning.
Forever.
Yeah, since the beginning of...
Since Columbus walked on this nation.
Yeah, fuck Columbus. You know what I'm saying?
Shit, man. So, like, you know, you growing up, especially as Muslim, like, I asked Faye this too, like, you know, when, like, he was opening him about that whole, like, 9/11 shit that was going on. Were you receiving any backlash growing up?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It was just like, I mean, little kids are evil creatures, you know what I'm saying, that pretty much haven't learned the concept of, like, having filters or being good humans just yet because they're just, like, they're kids, you know what I mean? They don't know any better. It's like puppies need to be corrected, you know what I mean? So like, and if they're not getting a certain kind of correction at home or whatever the feeling is in their household is what they're going to exude. So like, you know, there was specifically people, you know, I was in 6th grade when 9/11 happened. So the kind of stuff that kids were coming up to me and saying was like unbelievable.
Like what?
I got into a couple fights. So for example, the morning it happened actually, bro, I didn't even know like what had happened. I just knew like, I got to school in the morning, and the kids were all just like chattering. It was just like, yo, it's just some kind of attack. I don't know. It was, you know, the Twin Towers fell or whatever. Like we didn't really know what the hell was going on. And teachers are crying and stuff like that. We're like, yo, what's happening? So, you know, we get into class in the morning. The bell rings. We all go to class, and you know, this girl, she comes up to me. She slams both her hands on the desk, and she was like, "Why did your uncles have to do that?"
Damn.
And bro, I didn't even know what the fuck she was talking about.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you talking about? Like, that's weird. And then, like, one of my boys was like, bro, you can't let her talk to you like that. I'm like, yo, I don't even know what she means, bro.
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, kids started going home early. Like, my parents actually came and, like, pick me and my younger brother up from school. Like, nah, we're going back home. Like, and when I got home, like, I understood what was going on at that time. Where, you know, my parents were all like huddled in front of the TV, and you know, my parents were just like shaking their head, like, "Damn, it's about to get kind of rough."
Yeah,
like for us,
you guys. Yeah.
I remember my dad actually went and like bought an American flag, and he like just so we could put it up in front of our house so that like people knew
just
what
to
side.
Give a sense of protection. Yeah.
Just like just what side we're on or whatever. Like, yo, we're American, you know what I mean? But like when stuff like that happens, especially if you're in like a white neighborhood or something like that, then you know people might be like, yo, these cats over
Everybody's fucking eyeing you at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I imagine it's what Japanese people probably felt like in this country after Pearl Harbor. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like everybody looking at Japanese people like, yo, what side are they on?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's probably what I remember most from it. And then, you know, there was also other little like comments or backhanded shit that people would say or whatever. And, you know, many fades were ran, especially in elementary school. But as I got older, people kind of like stopped bringing it up. you know, I think time heals, and then also like depending on the IQ of a person or whatever, like people start to understand the world is more complex than just, oh, the Muslims attacked. Like, nah, bro. The Bin Laden family was homies with the Bush family for a long time. Slow down. Hold the phone.
For real.
There's a bigger thing going on here. And I'm not yelling conspiracy theory or nothing like that. I'm just saying geopolitics is a very complex issue.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you can't link every single Muslim person to just you
No.
know, one group of people who just so happen to do that shit.
Yeah, no, not at all. And it's, you know, that whole thing, that wasn't right. It's, yeah. I guess the biggest thing I could say about, you know, terrorism and Islam and stuff like that is I've been Muslim my whole life. Never, not once in my life has anybody ever preached violence or that I should be violent towards people or that I should hurt people or harm people. Never in 28 years, bro. I've been in mosques all over the world. I've been in mosques from all over America to Egypt, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, everywhere.
Crazy.
I've never had anybody be like, yo, you know what y'all need to do? Like, what we need to do is, you know, attack or kill people. Like, nah, bro, never. Not once. So I'll never believe that any kind of crazy acts like that are done like for a religious purpose. It's always a political purpose. It's always some shit that gets masked under the guise of religion. You know what I'm saying?
So then how did you manage to go through life just trying to like go through those trenches? Was it because your religion was practicing so much more peace as opposed to what everybody else in the world thought it was?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, when you know what it is, it's like, you know, you don't second guess or you don't question it because it's like everywhere I go or every time I study, it's always, you know, we're talking about like saving humanity, man. You know, feeding poor people, you know, helping orphans.
Yeah.
You know, giving charity, making a pilgrimage, respecting your neighbors, taking care of your parents. Like these are like the virtues and stuff that like my faith is about. So nowhere is like, yo, you need to kill such and such people or whatever, you know, like that doesn't exist. And even like if there's certain lines in the religious text that speak on that kind of stuff is because those are chapters in a book where they're describing warfare in a historical context. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you look at any of the books, whether it's the Torah, the Bible, the Quran, all of that, like these are historical manuscripts that were, you know, essentially revealed in like biblical times, right?
Ancient shit.
Ancient, right?
Yeah.
So to take stuff from there and put it on Fox News screens and say, see, they're coming to kill everybody, is like, come on, bro. That's clear.
But yeah, like read the chapter beforehand,
that,
chapter
right.
afterwards, and see what
Right.
actually means from this
like,
shit.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, but you know what's crazy though, that experience as like a Muslim American actually is, what's sad about it is like there's many like young Muslim kids who grow up in America like looking at or who kind of like leave their faith or distance themselves from their faith because the news and the media has, you know,
Kind of shunned them.
right, and planted like a seed in their head where it's like, man, this is messed up, right? So they just kind of distance themselves from it because every day they've been bombarded with nothing but messages of negativity.
Nothing but hatred.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Right.
insane.
So, you know, it's, and like, I actually credit hip hop for preserving my, you know, my religious identity in a sense, because I heard rappers, you know, saying stuff in their rhymes that were like references to like my faith, whether it was like Freeway or, you know, cats like Mos Def or, you know, there's a lot of Islamic references in hip hop music, J Electronica, you know, so it's like hearing that kind of stuff, Q-Tip from Tribe Called Quest, on and on, like hearing that in hip hop gave me like confidence in my own like identity, like, nah, this is dope, like, you know.
For sure, and especially with that being referenced throughout hip hop, like not even at one particular time, it's just like constantly going through.
Right.
I think I remember reading something at the Fader where Ty Dolla $ign's brother TC was in jail, and in order to cope with all the strangeness happening in jail, he actually converted to Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a I think a lot of, especially men in the black community, when a lot of them find Islam in prison, and I think Malcolm X is really responsible for many of those conversions, because that's a book that a lot of people read. As I've been told, I've actually never spent time.
Yeah.
I've never done time, or but some close friends and family who have, they mention that when you get there, the Muslim community in jail is very strong. So it's a good way to find peace and safety and brotherhood and camaraderie and stuff like that. So, and actually, the Muslim community outside of the prisons needs to do a better job at helping the Muslim community inside the prisons, to be honest.
How so?
Just like providing more resources and being understanding of like what's going on, especially like Asian Muslim communities, like
resources to understand the culture more? Or?
I would just say just in general. I don't know enough about the topic to know exactly what they need or not need, but that's something that I could do a better job at myself. But there have been black Muslims in America since the transatlantic slave trade.
Whoa, shit.
Yeah, because North Africa and West Africa was predominantly Muslim by faith. It's places like Senegal, Mali, you know what I mean? A lot of North Africa, for sure, was heavily Muslim. So a lot of these slaves that came over in the transatlantic slave trade, they were Muslim, and they were forced to abandon their faith or die. You know what I'm saying? So the history of Islam in America goes back a long time. But what happens is when immigrants from Asian cultures and Southeast Asian and Middle Eastern cultures come here to America, a lot of times that community doesn't acknowledge, the Muslim community that existed before them here, and stuff like that. So I think it's complex, man. It's a lot going on. But don't want to get too deep into that. But we could all just do a better job of looking out for one another. That's
Well, I think something that you're definitely doing, especially after listening to Growth and just getting like a little bit of like Muslim in this podcast. It's right. I could definitely see the ideas of like patience, slow growth, and peace and community like through your project. So would you say that like Growth is even inspired by Muslim?
Right. So I would say Islam, the religion of Islam, influences my music for sure, through and throughout. You know what I mean? And I think being Muslim gives me a certain subject matter that I wouldn't have if I wasn't. You know what I mean? But I don't I don't make like Muslim hip hop. You know what I mean? It's not like, when you hear my music, it's not like, this is like a spiritual album. You know what I'm saying?
It's like people labeling something like Christian rap.
Yeah. I don't. It's not that. At least not to my understanding, or when I hear it, that's not what I hear. Sure. And I don't think that's what other people hear neither. I haven't heard that feedback. So I wouldn't call it like an album like that. But clearly, like, you hear the influence, and there's certain bars that I have that touch on spiritual topics, or just make references that refer to my culture or my faith, and that that's something that if you're from my culture or my faith, you'll understand it at a certain level, and if you're not, then it's still, I think it's still gonna sound dope. So
it's still some shit you can learn about. By the way, like I think I was even like listening to your freestyles on YouTube and shit. That's a little bit lighter if you don't want to get into Growth right away.
Right.
Like, I think something about you that I was like really picking up was the fact that you're one of those rappers who rhyme like 3 words at a time, not just fucking the last line. I'm like, okay, like that's some dope shit. I think the Mass Appeal rap was probably my favorite one. So
right. Yeah, patterns. I'm a pattern rapper.
Yeah, is that what it's called?
I don't know. That's what I that's what I call it.
That's what you label it as.
I like patterns. I like punchlines. I like being witty. But like, yeah, I think it's syllables. Like in my brain, it's like a little game where it's like Mass Appeal, right? I'm gonna rhyme everything with mass appeal.
Yeah.
Maybe your soul you sell to have mass appeal. I keep mine still looking for stacks to build. In the game, you should know I got stats to fill. Y'all some Jeffrey Butlers working, serving a master will. Jack and Jill trying to climb a massive hill. Fall down a water well and land in the daffodils. Trap cheese, please know that the rats will squill. Even when I open shows, know I'ma smash the bill. Looney bin flow crazy like Jack hit ill. Elmer Fudd harassed a gun up in Daffy Grill. Same way these cops looking for blacks to kill. Light hit the glass dial. then. That's facts for real.
Hey.
Pakistani rapper bracing them gaps to fill. Maybe just an MC born with the raps to deal. On the gram, you should know that the caption, real industry is thirsty, get the point like a cactus fill. Pass the pill to the post, that Shaq O'Neal spin move, drop step. That's when the basket fell. Rappers really want to know how to ask and feel. I'm the type of dude who trying to roll in the Batmobile. Dipping and swerving, never sipping the bourbon, but still heavy off the top like Piccolo turban. Ripping the verses, scoring. Pippen and Jordan Horace, take it for granted. Man, this depression is tragic. Jaded from the game with no passion, feel. They be losing the race trying to chase mass appeal. Everything rhymes with mass appeal, you know what I mean?
Essentially, man, essentially. We had fucking Anthony snapping. We had George twerking too. That shit was fire, bro.
Hey,
that shit
man.
was fire. And that was just the acapella version.
Bro, I try to tell people, man, I rap. You don't have to you don't have to like bug me to rap. I just rap. So, you know, you ever been around them cats who like they rap but they don't really rap, and they're like, man,
they don't got, give me the right beat,
bruh, hold on,
bro. I just like smoked a little bit, chill. It's like, bro, if you rap, you rap.
That's what I'm saying. If you rap, you got shit in your head like ready to go.
That's what I'm saying.
At all times.
And you know, honestly, we were having this conversation like right beforehand. I can really see you ripping that shit. 5 Fingers of Death on Swing in the Morning, bro.
Thank you, bro. I hope I get the opportunity to do so. You know, so. Yeah, man. I mean, we're definitely working towards getting on bigger platforms and just making more noise in the future. So, you know, it's all part of the growth. It's all part of the grind. And, you know, I think everything is important, and everybody who supports is like mad important at this time. So, you know, even like y'all been holding me down for a minute. So I appreciate y'all for real. And, you know, just being able to even come up here and you know, share my voice is a big deal. You know what I'm saying?
Amen to that, man. I really appreciate you coming through. Haseeb, where can everybody find you, your music, and all that?
Yeah, so Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Google Play, all of the above, pretty much every single major streaming service. Just my name, Haseeb. That's Haseeb, Haseeb. And then on the socials, it's HASEEBthefew, HASEEBthefew, HASEEBthefew.com, all over the internets. You know, so wherever you are listening, you know, much appreciation. And then hit me up on IG. That's where I respond the fastest. If I try my best to respond to everybody, but they do this thing on Instagram where like if you don't follow someone and they DM you, it goes to like the request,
that hidden folder.
Hidden folder, and sometimes I totally forget that thing exists. And so I'll be like, I'll hit that folder like once every like month or some shit and be like, oh damn, oops,
I'm like 2 months late. Yeah. You know, last thing I wanted to ask you, where does the few come from?
Oh, man. Okay. So I used to go by Futuristic back in the day. And then there was also another artist from Arizona who was going by Futuristic. So we were both going by Futuristic. And then he kind of started to pop off a little faster than I did, just to be honest. And so I was like, man, I can't be Futuristic no more. And also I was like looking for myself at the time. I was trying to find myself. And I was like, man, I need to change some shit. Like, something's got to like change. So I changed my name to my name,
Haseeb,
which is the name given to me at birth by my parents. And I knew it was the right move when one of my homegirls hit me up. She was like, when did you start going by Haseeb? I'm like, 1990, where you been? Right?
Since birth, bruh.
Yeah.
Since birth.
So that was like confirmation where I was like, all right, it's the right move. So anyway, the transition from Futuristic to Haseeb, like that took place over the course of like a year or so. My first project as Haseeb is called The Futuristic. So I was going by Haseeb the Futuristic. And then after that project kind of was out, I'm like, how do I even shorten it more? And then I was just like, some of the homies, they used to call me Few because Futuristic.
Yeah,
so
shit. Okay.
They would like, what up, Few? Like, whatever, so that was just like a thing. And I was like, all right, the Few. But also, like, to me, the Few is like, what that's become is like, we are actually the few right here because I don't have like a million fans who are packing up stadiums. Like, I only have like a few friends, you know what I mean? And a few fans and a few family, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's the idea of like keeping the community like tight knit and, acknowledging the 100 people who are at your show or the 60 people who are at your show in Toronto or, you know what I mean? The 300 people in Paris, like that's still a relatively small room. You know what I mean? Like we're not packing out Staples Center. We're not packing out the Forum or Madison Square Garden or nothing like that. So it's just like, if you rock with my music, you're actually a part of the few. So you know, that's what it
Amen
is.
to that. That's a perfect way to end this shit,
Word.
man. Yo, this is the lunch table. Food for thought. I'm
Yeah.
Nico Blitz. This is Haseeb. Get
Yeah.
That Growth Project.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
and he has a project with what's his name? Curtis King.
Curtis King, yeah.
The Daisy Chain. Check that out too on SoundCloud.
Yeah. That came out back in 2015, but it's still up on SoundCloud and Spotify and all that. If you want to check that out as well.
Yeah.
You know.
And shout out to you for throwing that Chuck Dizzle homegrown line in there somewhere.
Oh yeah.
That's my boy.
Yeah. Word up. Yeah. Straight up, man. He's one of the dudes out in LA who's been, you know, helping artists for a while. So you know, just wanted to.
Give him some love, man.
Yeah.
Haseeb, man, we are out, y'all. Peace.
Peace.